So good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to the channel. I just wanted to make this video as kind of like going back and looking over and discussing my Integra. So I want to apologize ahead of time for any abnormal noises, vibrations, yada yada yada. I'm using my little lav mic on the GoPro, and this is a very raw car. There's no sound deadening. It is a 30-year-old Honda, so it has its creaks and rattles. So I just want to jump right into this, and we're going to be talking about the Integra, its history, what's done to it thus far, and what we're moving on to. Alright, so let's start with the history of the car. When did I even get the car? Well, I got the Integra bone stock, other than a very poorly done B20 swap and missing lots of parts on it, like fog lights, turn signals, one of the radius rods. It was open header. And I got it back in March of 2014. So this coming March will mark 8 years that I've had this car already. And this is the longest I've ever owned a car. And if there's one thing I've definitely learned, it's that I don't really understand. I mean, I do and I don't. Now that I'm getting older and maturing, I understand more how people hang on to cars as long as they do. Because when I was a lot younger, I just kept flipping through cars, just trying to find one that was fun. And then when something went wrong with it, I would simply just trade it off for somebody else's problem and then get a new problem and end up trading and flipping and trading and flipping cars, kind of like a lot of kids do nowadays. But the difference with this Integra is this is the one that I knew that I wanted. I had one previously when I was in the middle of high school. I had a 93 RS model, and after I sold that for no reason at all, I got very regretful, and I spent the next like year and a half trading through cars, trying to get things going to where I could get another one. And so when I did finally trade a 93 Civic sedan off for this Integra, I didn't have any intentions of getting rid of it. So we'll fast forward a couple months. The car went through some updates, some maintenance and stuff when I first got it. And then at the time, I had convinced my best friend that was living with me to trade his perfectly running good old Toyota pickup with a good old trusty 22RE with some good old mud tires and stuff for a very clapped DC Integra. So if I was going to suffer, he was going to suffer with me. And we were both dumb enough that it worked. So he ended up trading that off, and that was a very fun time. So we both had our Integras, and this DA at the time was nothing pretty to look at, but it was a solid car. It always had super mint interior, and I was always very fond of it. But fast forward a couple months, my life starts to kind of go pretty far south. I broke up with my fiance, who was my high school sweetheart, and then I had to end up moving across the country, and thankfully my best friend decided to come with me. So we drove these two turd box Integras all the way from Arizona to the Midwest up to Wisconsin. So that was definitely a nerve-wracking journey, and that's why I say that this car is very sentimental to me, because I've had a lot of you guys offer to buy it from me before, and there's just no dollar value I can really put on this car. Like, I'll admit I have contemplated selling it recently in the last couple months, mostly because I hate seeing it sit, and then I'm just unmotivated by it because I thoroughly enjoyed the Miata so much. I thoroughly enjoyed the S2000, and I feel like this car doesn't get enough attention, and that is for a few different reasons that I don't give this car enough attention, which we'll go into here shortly. I'm not going to go too crazy into detail about from that point, because if you want to go see the Integra's transformation from back then, you guys can go check out that video a little bit back on the channel. But after I got to Wisconsin, that's when I really started playing with this thing quite a bit. I ended up doing just a bunch of random stuff. At the time, I didn't know any better. I was a naive enthusiast. I thought straight pipe, eBay exhausts, and stance was super cool. So, and I say that kind-heartedly, like, not that I personally don't like that stuff anymore, and I know that a lot of people do. Everybody has their own taste and style, but that is just not mine, and I do not like it nowadays. Stance, it depends on the car, but I really prefer more of a driver's car, which is why I ended up turning the car into what it is now. So back in Wisconsin, the car was very stanced out. If you go back to when the channel first started, you can see the Integra from when I first started making videos on it. When I was doing just mostly skateboarding vlogs and stuff at the time, the car was on like some XXR wheels, a whole bunch of camber, super low, straight pipe, and I just absolutely had a blast with it. I loved the car back then, and it was good fun. It was my daily driver, it was my only car, and that car got me everywhere I needed to go. So this car has quite the history with me, because I don't want it to sound too like sad boyish, but this car holds a piece of me from a time in my life when I was actually the happiest, before I had to grow up, before I was an adult, before a lot of things happened in my life that I wish had to happen. So that's why this car is extremely sentimental to me. So fast forward, come back to Arizona, we start working on the car, we start building it up or whatever. We end up going through a few engines. We ended up doing the B20 VTEC, had that in the car. But the main thing I did was I steered away from the stance stuff, because it just, after I discovered driving roads out here, because Wisconsin's very flat, not a lot of roads out there to drive, and I just wanted to change it up. I got tired of the stance. So we start making the car more functional. We raise it up, we get better wheels, I say we, but I mean me. Ended up doing a whole bunch of stuff like that, got the Hero wing on there, and was just enjoying the car. Started coming out to the canyon a lot once they repaved this local road by me. And you guys kind of get the gist of things. I've been slowly building the car up since then. And nowadays, the car has a full K20A2 swap in it, and it's got the Type S 6-speed motor, has like 170,000 miles on it. It made a healthy 208 wheel horsepower, like 163 foot-pounds of torque, and it's a good, enjoyable, fun car. I don't mean this negatively, but once you actually build a car more than just slapping a couple parts on it, and you enjoy the car for a while, you kind of just get bored, because like, you don't want to necessarily ruin the piece that you built unless you built it to ruin, like say a drag car or a drift car or something like that. This car has always been very, again, sentimental to me, so I never wanted to do anything so crazy to it that I couldn't continue driving it as much as I wanted whenever I wanted. And so with that, I feel I've already cut the car up quite a bit doing the right-hand drive conversion. I do kind of regret rushing it in the way that I did. I don't regret doing the right-hand drive, because I absolutely love it. And then being a lefty, obviously, that just makes my shifting game much easier, more comfortable. But overall, I don't regret the right-hand drive conversion at all. So after doing the right-hand drive conversion, I've just been, since then, more or less enjoying the car. I've been taking it to the canyon a lot. We went to the track a couple times. And then for the last year and a half, ever since I really got into the Miata stuff and now the S2000 stuff, the car very, very rarely gets touched. I take it out every couple weeks to kind of just stretch its legs a little bit, but I don't usually take it far. Occasionally I'll bring it to the canyon, and part of the reason I don't drive it much is it does need tires, and I don't want to get tires until I get new wheels. But I don't want to get new wheels until something else happens a little bit later in this year that you guys will see, which is one of the changes coming up. So you can kind of already tell that by the title. Some of you may have thought it was time to move on from the Integra. That's actually probably further from the truth. So we are actually going to be doing quite a bit to the Integra this year. Now, we're not going to go stripping it down to bare shell again and starting all over from scratch, because we have lots of good stuff on this car already. But you guys have been asking for it for super long, for basically 3 years now, since I swapped the K into here. And I've put it off for so long, but you know, I think it's finally time. We're going to boost the Integra. So that is going to be happening here very soon. I've already got parts that I have started gathering. I plan on fabricating my own setup, fabricating my own manifold. We'll see about the intercooler setup. I might buy one and then fabricate the rest of it, or fabricate my own manifold or intercooler from scratch. I'll figure that out as we get to that stage. So this turbo setup isn't going to be anything crazy, no drag car stuff, because I still want to be able to keep this very streetable, very usable, because I do not care for drag racing in the absolute slightest. Sorry, not sorry to anybody that may offend or who may get butthurt at that. I just think it is a very, very boring style of racing. I love being out here in the canyons, and then there's of course the diehard track guys that will say track only type stuff, and trust me, I love the track. I get really, really bad anxiety, and I can't afford to go to the track all the time, whereas the canyon is more or less my backyard because I live so close to it, and I thoroughly enjoy the peacefulness of coming out here by myself, going for a quick rip, and just enjoying the car and the peacefulness and nature and such. So I will come out and I will say the power goal is only going to be about 3 to 350 wheel. Mind you, this is a very light chassis. I have not weighed this thing, but we have lots of lightened parts on here. I've taken a lot of stuff out. The K-Series engine is, I think, about the same weight as the B-Series setup. So we're probably sitting right around 2,300 pounds in the car as far as I know. I would like to get it weighed at some point here soon. So you can imagine 3 to 350 wheel is going to be more than enough for this type of car. So there's a few other mods that's going to have to happen to go support with the turbo stuff. Obviously, we're going to have to do like fuel pump, injectors, stuff like that. You know, your typical run-of-the-mill turbo setup stuff. And we will do that as we need to. There's a few more crazy things that's going to be happening this year. But I will kind of give you a hint of some of the things we can look forward to. Have you guys ever heard of doing an electric power steering conversion on a DA? Because I sure haven't, but I'm going to do that, and it's going to be super cool. So I've been doing quite a bit of research, and this will be in a separate video, obviously. I will try and make it as detailed as I can once I confirm that this stuff will work, which I know it will. It's just if I can figure out how to get it going. But that is some of the plans that we have going for this year. There is a guy that is out of country that is making a very cool part for the Integra, and I've already placed a deposit on that. Some of you guys may follow him on Instagram. If you follow any DA pages on Instagram, you may have stumbled across this already. So if you know that what I'm talking about, surprised if you don't know what I'm talking about. Well, it looks like you're gonna have to wait, because I'm waiting too. But there's big plans for this car. I didn't want this video to be too drawn out, too strung out, or too clickbaity. I kind of wanted to get some attention, because part of the reason I want to continue on with this car is I know this last year and a half, my channel has partially been struggling, but also growing at the same time. It's kind of been a weird back and forth, up and down motion. Let me kill the car here. And the reason being is because I just have been trying to grow my business, my fabrication business, Sadowski Fabrication, and you guys have been awesome in helping support that, but the channel has, because of that, slightly suffered. So I have continued to grow. I've found kind of a broader audience, thankfully, and a lot of you guys that are true to the channel stick around. I appreciate that. But I haven't had the budget to put towards doing a full project this year, and because I don't want to continue just filming the random work that I get in. Some of you guys do find it interesting, but I personally don't like filming every single job that comes in, because to me it gets boring, and then my jobs are often time sensitive. So I needed something to do for the channel this year. Now granted, this isn't going to take all year long to do it, but for some of the bigger stuff that this car is going to be getting, it's going to take most of the year to save up the funds to be able to do the stuff correctly, i.e. paint and body, because I do want to paint this car again, but I won't be spraying the paint this time. I would like to have the paint shot more or less professionally in some manner of the next. And as you guys know, this car has played a very special part in the YouTube channel. This is my car, this is my S13 if you guys are Adam LZ fans. So Adam LZ's S13 was kind of like the car that got his knowledge started, his interest started, and all that stuff. So this has kind of been, in the sense, the car that did that to my YouTube channel. So it has taught me how to be a better driver. It has taught me how to despise working on cars. It has taught me how to be patient. It has let me meet a whole bunch of really cool people, lots of you guys. It has grown my YouTube channel significantly. It has got me into this community, and it has taught me how to do fabrication and let me learn how to do lots of mechanical work, lots of fabrication work, and it's just been an all-around great car. So I want to finally kind of give this thing more or less one last final phase, per se, that I think the car deserves. So I'm really hoping to get all of this stuff done in the next year. But of course, just like everything else going on in the world right now, we will kind of have to see where funds and where time puts us. But first things first, the electric power steering and the turbo setup are going to be first in line. The electric power steering setup should be pretty darn interesting, and I would like to get that done first just because of ease of driving. I got some chicken arms, so it's a little hard for me to steer this thing with 200 treadwear tires at a standstill and low speed, and it's kind of monotonous. As for the turbo setup, you will see that here very shortly on the channel. I'm hoping within the next couple weeks to start fabricating those things, and just a bunch of other little things on the car that I would like to be replaced. So if you guys have noticed, if you don't see in great detail, granted I don't post much of the car anymore on Instagram just because the S is my attention, the car needs like passenger door handle, the doors need to be realigned, the front bumper needs to be replaced because I don't even have turn signal bolt things on there. They're all broken off. I would like to get different side skirts on here. I would like to get a radio set up back in here. I would like to try and figure out a way to insert some sort of heater mechanism in here. Air conditioning, I feel like it's probably out for the count just because I don't have anything under the dash and I don't have access to any of the right-hand drive components. But you guys kind of get the idea. the car is going to go through some changes. Hopefully you guys are excited and you stick around on the channel to see some more of it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue the rest of my drive, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Mike, aka Canyon.tuned, here on YouTube and Instagram for helping me film some of this B-roll. And if you guys did enjoy it, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you have considered subscribing by now. If you guys would like to help continue to support the channel, I ask that you would go to the Big Cartel, pick up some merch. Here is one of my long sleeves. Do what you love, forget about the rest. Anyways guys, we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.